Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Today we are talking about one of the important topics that deal with the future of Egyptian women in light of the national strategy for empowerment of Egyptian women 2030. Egyptian women are the pride of the homeland and the origin of its power, of course. They were and still are the supporters and backers of the state in every crisis. They were and still are the protective shield in front of anyone who tries to undermine the power of the country, and they are the symbol of giving and pure sacrifice apart from any interest. These were the words of the President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi during the annual celebration of the Egyptian women, one of the important occasions that become an annual tradition and a badge of honor from the state for every Egyptian woman who is a part in the struggle, success, construction and work. The progress of any society, of any community in the world is measured by the status of women in this community, how far the government deal with the file of the Egyptian, of the women in general, what are the progress that are meant to be focused on the women in the community, and how are the Egyptian women is achieving their dreams and aspirations which has long fought for under the new republic. Equality between women and men, one of the important topics, is assuming judicial positions have been achieved as women took the judiciary podium and female judges presided over difficult judicial circuits with their fellow judges in implementation of the decision of the President of the Republic to appoint 98 female judges in the State Council to work to the various departments of the State Commissioners Authority. Many topics and many points are focused to improve the women's status, and now in this episode we are going to tackle the main features that deal with the empowerment of women during the recent years. First of all, allow me to welcome my dear guest, Dr. Wael Badawy, Head of Data Science and Cybersecurity, School of Artificial Intelligence. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
At the outset of our episode, we're going to deal with the most important top stories today, and the first one dealing with the President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi. President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi and UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer discussed over 4 bilateral ties as well as regional and international issues of mutual concern on Thursday. President Sisi congratulated Starmer on the occasion of forming a new government and said that Egypt was looking forward to enhancing cooperation with the United Kingdom, especially in the investment and economic fields, in addition to expanding the trade volume between the two countries. Sisi also held a meeting with Eritrea's Foreign Minister Osman Saleh on Thursday, which centered on bilateral ties. The meeting further tackled several files and threats that face Africa and the Red Sea region and means of enhancing joint coordination at the aim of restoring stability and security in the continent. During the meeting, President Sisi was handed a written message from Eritrea's President Asias Afwerki, in which he expressed appreciation to Egyptian-Eritrean relations and asserted keenness on boosting consultations over issues of mutual concern. The President stressed Egypt's keenness on fostering bilateral ties in various domains in a way that achieve aspirations and interests of both countries in light of current regional challenges. That was most of our top stories, and now we are going back to our topic today, which deal with women empowerment, especially in the light of the national strategy of women empowerment 2030. And again, with my dear guest, welcome again, and we'll start with women empowerment. Many years, women empowerment was a topic that has been tackled during the international forum, and many countries has really a domain strategic planning for the women empowerment. From your point of view, what are the most important aspects of progress that has been done during the recent years dealing with the file of women empowerment in Egypt?
In Egypt, I was engaged with one of the initiatives from Ministry of Communication and Information Technology. It's called Qudwatek or Qudwatek
one
in
of
Arabic,
the initiatives,
which basically role model technology, if one translate it to English. It was amazing. In over 5 years, they have enabled and empower women, youth, young ladies and girls in how to use technology, how to make online stores, how to develop products, handicraft, designed by computers. It was a very fascinating experience for me, in particular over COVID, because they took advantage and they reached out everywhere. Especially in rural area and southern part of the country, because people have been using now different communication schemes during the COVID sections.
And different backgrounds also.
They had a different backgrounds. I was teaching, or I was explaining to them some concept of artificial intelligence and what are the risks and gaps if we want to use it in designs. And I attended the view of their events, and some of their events actually demonstrate a decent leadership. They brought in some of these leaders from women, and they describe what businesses they have been developed and what kind of revenues they're able to generate. I believe this initiatives in how to deploy technology in these hands was one of the remarkable milestones of Egypt.
Of course. Dr. Wael, we know in everything, I think it's well known all over the world that women are the cornerstone of any development in any country. From your point of view, during the national strategy of Egypt 2030, what are the main features that really deal with women empowerment and that make a progress in the fight of women empowerment?
I believe developing the woman itself to meet and match the current technology and the current trends in the society. So if we look at a girl or a woman which can using technology and then they can raise kids, for sure her kids will be using technology. It will reflect back on them.
Education also.
Yeah, it's a sort of educational habit. In particular when some of the sessions are actually about like how to use social media to promote your product. And suddenly you now learn how to use social media to protect yourself from the unwanted messages and the bad or the not, we don't want to say like does not meet the quality of our life and the thoughts and the idea of our society, but how you can actually build trends and when you get this population to really have hands-on and first access to this kind of information, it supports a stronger society. Because now you can make a decision what kind of media or what kind of material you can follow on any of the social media.
Dr. Wael, let's follow one of the important reports made by Nile TV. Egyptian women enjoy high priority and play by voter role in the National Strategy 2030. Follow us.
The file of empowering Egyptian women has witnessed an unprecedented boom locally and internationally during the last 10 years, as the golden age for Egyptian women began in June 2014. It brought them back to life thanks to the presence of a political will that believes that empowering women is a national duty. From this standpoint, women's constitutional rights have been translated into laws, strategies, and executive programs carried out by governmental and non-governmental agencies. Egypt's experience in the file of empowering women and achieving gender equality has become the subject of admiration and international praise. The beginning was with the 2014 Constitution, which included more than 20 articles regulating the topics of citizenship, equality, and criminalization of violence and discrimination. The National Council for Women was reconstituted as the national mechanism concerned with empowering Egyptian women and achieving gender equality in February 2016. In 2016, the National Council for Women prepared the National Strategy for the Empowerment of Egyptian Women 2030 within the framework of Sustainable Development Goals and in line with Egypt's Vision 2030 and in a participatory framework with all concerned parties and civil society. and approved by President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi as the official working document for the coming years in the Year of Egyptian Women 2017. Egypt issued a proposed program and policy paper on Egypt's rapid response plan to women's special needs immediately after the pandemic entered in March 2020, the first Egyptian government in the world to issue this paper. Preparation of 5 copies of a report to monitor policies and programs responsive to women's needs, Women Policy Tracker, the United Nations Development Programme, UNDP, and the United Nations Entity for Gender Equality and the Empowerment of Women, launched an international report to monitor the efforts of countries in taking into account the needs of women during the outbreak of the pandemic. And Egypt was the first country at the level of the Middle East, North Africa, West Asia, and the Arab countries that responded to the needs of women during the outbreak of the pandemic. About women, environment, and climate change, Egypt has prepared its international vision for women, environment, and climate change, which was launched during the work of the Commission on the Status of Women in March 2022. In preparation for Egypt's hosting of COP27. The conference activities witnessed the organization of a Gender Day, in which His Excellency, the President of the Republic, spoke during the opening session delivered on his behalf by the Minister of Environment. Egypt launched the African Women and Climate Change Adaptation, AWCAP, initiative, and one of its general objectives is to enhance cooperation among African member states by establishing an association that includes heads of mechanisms concerned with women's affairs, ministers and ministers of environment concerned, and strengthening existing structures and frameworks by promoting knowledge production, providing information technology in the field of climate, data collection, research and exchange of experiences, and strengthening commitments to invest in women through increased capacity building programs to support women in the field. Various levels ranging from education to the labor market, supporting women owners of medium, small and micro enterprises, and strengthening social protection policies that take into account women's empowerment and gender equality.
Many procedures were taken to empower women during the past years, and back to the President Fattah al-Sisi, who perceived on the keenness of the past 10 years to empower women in all aspects. How do you see this point?
Empowering women was like, there's so many initiatives we have been watching over the last 10 years. Maybe because of my background in technology, I can talk about business and technology. So we have been seeing initiatives where they develop programs to empower women for business and to explain business process. And not only that, they actually, through the Women Council and different initiatives, they will take them into international shows. The most recent one was Zytex, the one in Dubai. There's other shows in Jordan, Saudi, and
different countries,
and they are a role model. I had a discussion one time with a group, and they said, oh, our product are actually somewhere in the New Cairo. There is appears to be to me like a kind of a branch where they demonstrate art, craft, and handcraft work for women, and they had actually a show there. The fascinating part was one of the projects we have been dealing with, and it was basically use the residuals of banana plants into developing fibers.
How creative are they?
Yeah, and the fibers became bags and hand material for the interesting part of the story. So it attracted me, like, okay, you have the plant, you have the leftover from the plant, you take it, how you extract fibers. They said, oh, we have a website for re-engineering equipment. So we brought in a technician from agriculture group, because this was, I believe, in Minya or
Yes,
Asyut.
to implement the idea.
Yeah, and he created the machine. And they created the machine below 10,000 Egyptian pounds, and they start to sell the machine as well as demonstrate to others how to use the leftover from the plant and develop new product. And their product was really
Impressive.
It's impressive, and it's brand new. Like, there are so many people who love to, there are people who they love to use natural products.
Yeah, it's a sort of economic, let's say, way of thinking, because you know that empowering women and reducing gender inequality affect the level of economic growth and development in a way or more. So how far could these projects play a role in this regard?
This particular project is impressive that I can call, like, it was like 3 or 4 girls and women. They get together and they make a decision to re-engineer a mechanical machine, and they found the means. For sure they have the support of their families as well.
But how ages were they?
I believe this is around like the mid-30s, mid-20s to mid-30s, this particular age. And in one of the demonstration panels we had, they had their husbands and their parents. Everybody was proud of them. So I see it empowering women through a national program or a territorial program like that. Does not only change the culture of the woman, it's also the society. Like now, her family will come with them, they will accompany them with their kids.
It's the cornerstone of the community, of the society. It's very important.
And their young kids are actually running around and making noise. And suddenly they stand and they explain, oh, we got a machine from India, they make it in Egypt, and then, guess what? They produce product, and one of their model is to sell the machines to other individuals. I have been watching several of these initiatives, particularly using the residuals of plants, from hibiscus to bananas to palm. Like a girl or a woman or a lady in a community looking around to the trash and say, how I can take advantage of this and recycle it.
It's very important, yeah.
It's impressive.
And how the country, the government itself could play a role in providing support for such women, so to market the products and to find a way to, let's say, to sell the products. So the question here is education and increasing savings rate in household, and I think it's one of the important points that we should talk about when we deal with the women empowerment file. Could you tell us how much it really affects the women empowerment rates in Egypt?
I believe this is not woman for hire. This basically, or woman for a job. This basically entrepreneurial woman. A woman who will stand in and run a business. And the business will grow and she will hire others. It's not a model where I can educate her and prepare her for the labor.
But for the economy itself.
It's a positive economy player. And right now we have, I believe, many bilateral agreements between different ministers and different governors like Aswan, Asyut, like each one of them to focus the programs on the development of these territories. And I cannot elaborate that the COVID was actually very interesting, because in one situation we have been dealing with an American or an international program funding here, and it was just focused on one governorate. And suddenly COVID hit, so everything becomes online. Now you don't only serve this particular governorate, we actually served almost everywhere in the southern Egypt. And you had like 40, 50 on a single sessions. My involvement with these different programs is basically I was one of the instructors or one of the coaches or one of the mentors. And it's fascinating how many ideas you find it fresh inside the regions, which is basically we don't expect to see economical growth, because we don't believe that these people actually have economical service other than tourism.
But again, we deal with education, with training, and I think it's very important, with TOT, training of trainers, and I think it's one of important issues that we have to talk about it when we deal with women empowerment in Egypt. So do you think that the progress made by women themselves during the past years give a role model for women who are maybe not so good educated, or not well educated, or just fragile women, or women with disabilities, to find a way, find a track to prove themselves and to find a way of support from the community itself?
The immediate answer is yes. Like all of the categories you described, they do have role models, they do have aid programs, but it's not really an aid program by providing you means of living.
Exactly.
It's basically educating you and getting you into the age. And for sure, each one of these programs will have a financial arm. So you'll find some sort of loans or some sort of financial support towards the support of the new products. So these celebrations, Qudwa Tech, it's an impressive one. It's only 5 years, and they develop. There are lots of stores, there are lots of websites, there are lots of pages on social media. There are actually initiatives from Qudwa Tech. They taught them how to develop a marketing solutions online and how to sell. And Egyptian Post as well is one partner because they do the delivery through them. So having a government which can bring in all all the support elements and make them partner into one program.
But Doctor, you tell me about Qudwa Tech, and I think it's one of the important initiatives by the government. So how far could we can say that it has its competitive privileges dealing with the women empowerment fund in Egypt? Yani?
If we understand the current society is moving toward information technology and digital
AI
age,
and everything.
Away from the AI, because AI knows a buzz, and I believe your audience will get sick of it.
Your major.
Yeah, it's my major. If we understand that everything right now is going toward digitalization and digital world, equipping our women and our workers to be online and to sell online and helping them to deliver online, it's actually matching the international society. Everything is currently going now to be digital.
It's a circle, closed circle.
It's a closed circle.
Yeah.
And so preparing them, it's an amazing step. And having the focus on them. Because usually they are in areas where they don't have access to computers. They don't have access to data. They are not free to sit on the internet to teach, to learn, and open different self-trained courses and stuff like that. So by having the government which prepares these courses and gives them a guideline or a roadmap and follow up with them over 6 months or 3 months based on how long this workshop is going on, it's actually the way to go. And the number of leaders in this program is amazing.
Do you think that Egypt succeeded to, let's say, shift the concept of women empowerment all over the world? Just not inequality between men and women, but women empowerment with the concept of women are the cornerstone of sustainable development in Egypt. So many projects have been focused to deal with such concept, or apart from the international concept of women empowerment.
The answer also for this interesting question is yes, because I believe in a short period we'll start to look about men rights in this country. Because you can start to see like all the leaders everywhere there is an interesting proportion of women, and I don't believe we start to talk about them as minorities as before. Like they are equal forces in the society. They are supporting the community. They are having
effective in the community.
They are effective, and they have their positive fingerprint on facilitating and accelerating everything. They foster our society and our economy.
So we go now to one of the important topics dealing with women empowerment. Egypt's legislation empowers women at the political, social, and economic levels. Follow this report.
Egypt has worked to issue many national legislations during the past years to empower women at the political, social and economic levels and protect them from all forms of violence and discrimination against them, equality in investment opportunities between women and men, and the representation of women in the boards of directors of financial companies, the banking sector and other legislation. During the past 10 years, Egyptian women have assumed leadership positions for the first time in their history. The first female advisor to the President of the Republic for National Security, the first female President of the Economic Court, the first Deputy Governor of the Central Bank, 2 women in the position of Governor, the first female President of the National Council for Human Rights, And the glass barrier was broken with the arrival of women to the State Council and the public prosecution for the first time in more than 72 years. The state has not only worked to ensure that women assume leadership positions, but many specialized programs have been held to enhance women's leadership capabilities in partnership with international institutes and universities to ensure building cadres of women leaders so that women's participation is effective and fruitful. These efforts were complemented by the development of encouraging and competitive mechanisms as the state launched the Government Excellence Award for Women to encourage women to reach the highest positions and decision-making positions, and the preparation of the award guide, and a number of ministries submitted to the award for the year 2022. 163 of its representatives in training workshops organized in cooperation with the Economic Governance Project to identify and train on how to prepare files for each entity and take into account the necessary indicators to obtain the award. In terms of economic and social empowerment, the percentage of women in financial inclusion increased to 27%, and transaction accounts from 47.5% until mid-2021. And women's participation in the labor force reached 17.3% in 2022, which is one of the indicators that we are working to improve. The qualitative gap between youth and girls in education has also disappeared, and women represent about 50% of female graduates of public and private universities. This era witnessed the launch of the Egyptian state of two of its largest development programs for social and economic empowerment and improving the lives of male and female citizens. And the Egyptian state worked within an integrated strategic framework and a unified vision and established clear ministerial and community coordination mechanisms to unify efforts between national state institutions, private sector institutions, civil society and development partners in Egypt. All these programs and projects to unify the targeted villages and governorates and provide an integrated package of services that complement each other and take into account the needs of male and female citizens, which include aspects of various health, social and living conditions. One of the most prominent financial and digital inclusion programs for women is the Tehoisha application, which is a smart application to digitize the process of savings and lending groups, provide financial and banking services to women in governorates and villages, and encourage women to create small green projects that generate income for them to improve their standard of living.
So I think the report shows a very important point dealing with legislation with concerning women empowerment, and we're going to talk about the opportunities for women, let's say the safe places or the percentage in the workforce, in education. So how could we analyze the importance of legislation when we deal with the file of women empowerment in Egypt?
I believe legislation will provide the venue and the opportunity of grabbing the next job or the next opportunity. So having a percentage in the parliament was one of the key legislation. Appointing the judges, and I was actually...
The ministers also.
The ministers, it became later, because there's Ministry for Women Issues, so it has to be a woman, but having judges, this was amazing step. Like I attended few events when they were describing how this circumstances led to have, as the first one was I believe 40 judges, now they are about 92 or 90 plus judges sitting
in the number
in jobs, and these are real judges, are not in monitoring or in different sectors. These they sit on the bench And so this was amazing. But I was describing in the break, if you look at different universities right now, our close friends and a fellow, she's actually the president of a university. There are so many presidents of new universities.
Yeah,
and there are universities in communication, in computers, in health. So many universities will have deans, are basically women. Ministers are them. One feature we found out in our university is when we hire teaching assistants and women as professors and instructors, they have an effective communication with the students. And we actually were discussing the proportion we have.
Yes, women are always inspiring.
So they are inspiring and they take care. So they do have their own position, their own natural position in our workforce.
But do you think it's the conclusion for the past years for working in women empowerment, giving much opportunities and empowering women in education, in workforce, all such features give really good opportunities for women to prove themselves and to be a cornerstone, real cornerstone in the community?
Yeah. And majority of my colleagues I do know of, they do have, because we have the stereotype, like if the woman will go to work, she will ignore her kids, she will ignore her home. No. The experience we had with our fellow friends and co-workers I have with me, no, they take care and the employers will give space. So if you have kids to pick them early from the school, they will give you the space. You will not be having to stay. They come explain and the society will give the room to take care and better care of their kids.
It's very important. It's one of the major features in the European community. And I think it's very
this is actually here.
Yeah.
This is actually
and in Egypt also now.
Yeah, so what I was observing in the university setting and in different companies I was dealing with, yes, they do have these particular rooms. And they understand the space. So these women, when they come to work, they don't ignore their role, their family role. It's actually complementary to their family role.
Yes, but Dr. Wael, you pointed out a very important point dealing with the rights of working women. How far could the government make lots of procedures and, let's say, legislation also to protect the rights of working women in Egypt?
I believe they provided all the rights. They provide the right to, when they have a delivery, they have an extra vacation, they have rights of taking care of kids. They are very similar to the, as you may know, that I lived in North America for so long. The laws and regulations over there are very similar to what we see right now in Egypt. I'm not saying it's the opposite. So Egypt, they do have this particular accompanies their husbands, having circumstances, and many of facilities we see right now and universities will have a space to bring your own kids after hours or in summer period. And some of them will arrange, like the Arab Academy, they will arrange to have a kindergarten close to your work, next to your work. So many of these initiatives, however we don't see it, however we try to focus on the stereotype.
Yeah, exactly. That is a problem. I think the problem here.
So the issue is we don't talk about it too much. And sometimes say, why we don't talk about it? Because it's normal. It's normal to have my wife, she's a working force, and she will administer exams, she will have control roles, and we will set our lifestyle to support her working lifestyle. And the employer itself, when we have with the kids, we have issues and she needs to be at home, the employer will accommodate the workplace to send her home with tasks so she can do it remotely. And it does not really stop us to talk about it because it's normal.
Yeah.
So sometimes when we don't discuss it, because it's our normal practice, so why it's not our thing to discuss it.
So I think it's very important that you point out this point. But let's say about your major, you're dealing with technology, with AI. So the sharing or the partnership of women in many initiatives, like the Job Tech initiative, or some initiatives that deal with AI in Egypt, or the smart cities, for example. How far could we say that the Egyptian women really play a very important role in this regard?
You see them as a good percentage of the workplace for a different reason.
Right.
Dealing with programming, dealing with details, dealing with steps, dealing with step-by-step details, how to write. And the question will become, who is most commonly dealing with details? male or female?
Female, of course.
Female.
Yep, yeah.
So there are some characteristics, and when you write programs, you'll find the most effective program writer, the most effective installer in the street to install a light pole or a computer will be a male, because he is the one who can carry this hard work. But if you look at programming, if you look at details, if you look at how to critique AI output or how to take some programs and compile them and debug the errors, it's actually, I don't want to say call it a female job. I want to call it, it's attention to details where female and woman having a natural practice there. Their eyes are trained for that. And this is 80-20 rules. Like, we don't say all women, we don't say all men, but we say 60 to 80% of them will be more effective dealing with this particular area. Because they give enough care and attention to details. And all the new generation of computing programming, it's about details.
Funding internships in the field of digital training, yani, what the role of such point in also in women empowerment?
There are programs which is actually internship for exclusive women and young girls. There are lots of training, summer training programs for exclusive for women and young girls. So, and I believe
targeting special ages.
Targeting special ages, yeah. In internship usually for students who will be graduated in a couple of years. So
yes,
year
teenagers
2 to years. Yeah. So there are lots of programs which they provide this particular internship to women and girls.
Okay. So, Dr. Wael, thank you for being with us for such episode and talking about the women empowerment. Thank you so much.